I must first of all start by thanking the ACE committee for putting this exhibition on. Bob suggested that we run an exhibition once a year. I was thinking about having the exhibition just in the small room off the gallery, probably with about 10 cameras. But Bob being Bob thought, no, in the main gallery for 2 weeks with all your cameras would be a better option. And I thought, well, if we can do that, we've got to get some of the club members involved. So the offer went out, take a camera, take some photographs and be in the exhibition. Well, some of the members took up on it and we got some excellent photographs from them. The cameras are not user-friendly, but they did a good job with these unuser-friendly cameras.
They did a brilliant job.
Yeah, brilliant job. I thank Bob for the fantastic audio visual he's put together, well, visual not audio, of how the cameras were made, and Thelma and her catering committee. They have done an incredible job. I won't know, if I start to name people, I'm sure to leave somebody out, so it's best not to. The cameras. My type of photography is now called alternative to photography. It's not photography, yeah, film. I don't see why it should be labelled that, but that's what they call it these days. And making your own cameras puts you even further in that zone. But I see an idea, I think about something, and then, okay, it's a good subject to make a camera. World Pinhole Day has always been one of my passions. So I make a lot of pinhole cameras, and I make a camera especially for the day. So when it comes around, I've always got one. This year is going to be a e-music. But I say most of the cameras I make, I try to make on the cheap. I don't like spending too much, very frugal. I don't like spending too much money.
It's the Scots in the man, eh?
Yeah. I like to make them out of recycled material as much as possible. But a few of the cameras, I'll just tell you about a couple of my cameras. 2 of them go back right to the birth of photography. The guy that invented the negative positive film process, negative positive system was a guy called William Fox Talbot. And he made the Talbot type and the Daguerreotype, which were the same system of making multiple images from a negative. That was right up until we started digital photography. And he made a little camera and his wife named it the Mousetrap. So one of my cameras is made representing the Mousetrap. Not an identical copy, but it's like the camera he would have made. Now the other camera that goes right back to the birth of photography is the Walcott, which is a camera that uses a parabolic mirror to focus the rays. Now what happened was that while Fox Talbot was making his Talbot types, over the other side of the channel in England there was a Frenchman called Louis Daguerre. He was working on the Daguerreotype. Now the Daguerreotype had 2 problems. One, it was very toxic and it required very long exposures. So as an American, I think he was a dental supply technician, thought that the way around this was that we don't need a lens. Photography with a lens really won't work. In 150 years' time, nobody will be using a lens. We take a parabolic mirror and we can focus the rays from a parabolic mirror and we can bring an exposure time down from 30 minutes to milliseconds. Because it was like an aperture of in negative territory, like 0.08. So it's faster than any lens you could imagine. So he made these Walcott type parabolic mirrored cameras, but they didn't take off. Nobody used them. They were very unfriendly, user unfriendly, and not a very good camera. So they just fell out of history. But I found this on the internet one day and thought, it sounds like a good camera to make. So I made one, and next thing I know, there's a group started up making Walcott cameras. So it became quite a popular thing to make. Then going on, as I say, using recycled materials, I made a couple. There was an exhibition down at the Eclipse Gallery a few years ago, held by Viewpoint, and this had the theme of metamorphosis. And to me, metamorphosis reborn, I thought, well, recycled, upcycled. Where making a camera, I'll make something I've made out 100% recycled materials if I can. So I went to the chip shop, souvenirs, all over the place, and I bought as much recycled stuff that I could make a camera. I made 2 cameras, put them in the exhibition, and won first prize, which made me very happy.
Yeah.
Because I've made several cameras using recycled, and the latest thing was that everybody's into plastics. We've got to do something about the plastics. Well, there's a plastic they call the Type 2 plastics, what they make shampoo bottles out of, a lot of cooking oil bottles out of. So I collected a whole lot of this Type 2 bottles, cut them down, got an old sandwich press and fused all the plastic together to make blocks. Cut them to shape and then made wooden blocks as a die and then fused them over the wooden blocks. And from that I made my plastic camera.
Well
And looking
done.
around, there's other cameras you can make out of recycled material. There's a person up in the Loop by the ABC was making stuff out of pallets. So he suggested make a camera out of a pallet. So that worked very well. For the last couple of cameras I'd like to talk about was when I first started in photography, the company I worked for specialised in making multi-image cameras. And Kodak was supplying not only the camera and the film, but in the early 60s Kodak decided that they had enough of making plates and making these cameras, they didn't want any more to do with it. So the company looked for another alternative. And at the time there was a camera that was being made in Denmark that took 6 images on a 5x4 sheet of film. So I thought this is the way to go, but we'll make our own. So I only saw this camera for a short while in the early 60s, and it was just like a box with what looked like a car gear shift at the back, so you could change the position of the film with this gear shift. So I thought, I'll make one of those. So I made it. But after that camera was originally made, Polaroid made them under license, and they made it with 6 lenses. And you can still find these cameras around, but it's a 4-lens version where they use them for passports. And then pushing the boundaries of photography, I thought, underwater pinhole.
Well,
It must be the most difficult thing you could do. So I made my Nautilus camera, and midwinter, I'd go down to the beach in Little Grove, wade out, icy cold water, and take a few exposures. And I think I must have taken a dozen films over probably a month on the worst possible days, waiting for that little bit of sunshine so I can get the perfect exposure. And after the time, I got about 3 exposures on a film that I liked. Had them, printed them off. Mike Lyons, who did all the printing for the exhibition, did a fantastic job on printing it. And to me that was the biggest challenge, and I suppose my most rewarding camera. And after that I'll pass over to Duncan, who's a very well-known photographer in the photographic field, to open the exhibition.
Thank you very much, Colin. That was really good because he sent me a little thing saying he was going to speak for 90 seconds. I don't think it was going to happen, but he's probably stolen a bit of my thunder as well.
That depends on your exposure.
I do apologise for reading it because I've got some names of people here and I don't want to miss out anyone. If I do miss out anyone, I do really apologise. So, good morning ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank Colin Lowe for giving me the chance to say a few words at the opening of the exhibition. Colin was employed by some of the major Perth photographers of the day, such as Fritz Kotz, Ron Armstrong and Brian Stevenson. And I'm sure the experience he gained nurtured his love for photography and cameras. He is the 21st century reincarnation of Kodak's George Eastman, producing unique cameras from all sorts of materials which have mostly been made using recycled materials from items such as old boats, plastic piping, magnifying glasses, driftwood, cake tins, hats, parts from old cameras, and not to forget some of the other items such as potatoes, baobab seeds, coconuts, and not to forget his latest project, a pinhole camera using an ostrich egg for the body. I'm sure this will be a cracking camera.
Yeah, don't make any bad jokes.
Sorry about that. Amongst the cameras, he's also manufactured a large format pinhole camera, which produces large paper negatives, and when they are contactor printed, make a positive image. He has also produced a panoramic camera with a swing lens, reminiscent of the old Widelux camera, which is no mean feat. Another of his cameras captures 6 images on a single plate, with the plate being moved into position with the lens by shifting a gear lever on the back of the camera. Having been an underwater photography instructor back in the film days, I'm aware of the difficulties in taking photographs using a film camera and in that environment. So I was particularly interested when I saw Colin was producing an underwater pinhole camera. The resulting photos that he produced were quite remarkable. No obstacle gets in Colin's way, as he always nuts out a solution and does not give up until he has tested and used the camera to produce images. I wonder how he managed to calculate the exposures required with each innovative camera without a lot of trial and error and the expense of time and much wasted film. He told me the other day that he actually works out some of the shutter speeds and exposures by watching the lines go down a TV screen on the old cathode on the refresh rate, which I thought, that solves that problem.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Who would have thought of that? Many of the cameras use aperture plates and drop shutters to give him correct exposures. Having over 30 homemade working cameras in his collection, someone suggested to Colin that it was a shame to have produced all these cameras and no one gets to see them and all the images they produce. The idea of displaying the cameras along with images produced from them has culminated in this display and exhibition, I Am a Camera. Employing the assistance of and issuing cameras to Ace Club members Susan Ferguson, Malcolm Herbley, Julie Holland, Warren Lilford, Dean Parton, Christina Rees, Pia Sweeting and Bob Simmons. He sent them on their way to produce images. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Produce images they did, and 52 images are on display in the gallery, along with a slideshow showing how cameras on display work. Must also congratulate the volunteers that spent many hours helping Colin putting the show together. I'm sure you're all...
Yourself.
Sorry?
I said not forgetting yourself.
Oh, I didn't mind that.
You walked through the door and started to help.
I'm sure you're all waiting to have a look at the exhibition and the unique display of cameras. So I now declare the exhibition, I Am a Camera, open.
Are we ready?
Here we are.
Congratulations. Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Stop them in.
I choose a wedding photographer. Take the glasses out and do this.
Yeah. Just spin that one around